I was in a meeting. I was like, I gotta go. I have to drive there.
Especially if they're sitting there eating dinner. You go, oops.
At 4:00. You eat dinner at 4:00?
Sometimes.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, that's more.
Yeah.
3:00, I had lunch.
You guys got to get your schedule together.
Gotta get my life together.
Well, that helps.
Yeah.
Bob's gonna get away.
Yeah.
Hey, even when we did the health fair, here come my wife at noon with a brown bag with my name written on it. Yep. Go.
That's the cutest thing.
That's true,
Yeah.
actually.
It's a true statement.
Yeah.
Here she came with my name. I said, I'm not in first grade, dear. But it was nice.
No, that wasn't.
That's right.
That was a conversation that was
He's
started
jumping.
last time we didn't have a forum.
Here we go.
Well, would you looky there? Hi, buddy. See, I said you just gotta give a few more minutes. Bob was worried you were eating dinner.
No. It's no time to do anything, but I made it this time.
Yeah.
I appreciated getting the agenda early.
Yeah. I'm trying.
Thank you.
It's just a long bunch of minutes. This meeting come to order.
This meeting's going to order.
You said
I've been away from it for a long time. You know. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm not going to do a formal roll call because they're all here, but I have you marked as present, so thank you. And since we do have a quorum, we are able to approve minutes from the last time we had a quorum. So if you want to take some time to review those, and then we can entertain a motion in a second and a vote.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
I hear a second.
And I will second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Well, moving on to recognition of visitors. Any would like to be recognized?
I don't recognize her at all.
Been a while. What's your name now?
Okay, then we can go ahead and move on to the business portion of the agenda. So teen mental health was something that was placed on the July agenda at the request of Mayor Coleman. But again, unfortunately, she's not able to attend today. So it's up to the committee if you'd like to take up this item or wait for her to be in attendance to kick that off.
I have a question
Yeah.
about the minutes. So, the negotiating the lease with CSC, has that started yet? Are they out here?
So we had a walkthrough with them yesterday. And we are just working on quotes for the renovations. So we haven't signed a lease, but we're moving forward with that process.
Thank you.
So did you want to go ahead and?
10 thing, I would think maybe we'd want to table that until we had Susan here. So
I
Absolutely.
was agreeing with that, yeah.
Then if you would like to give an update on how this year's health fair went.
Well, don't.
Larry, how'd that go?
I think one of those two that are in charge of that health would actually give that report.
No, looking back at it, our attendance probably wasn't as high as it had been in the past, but there were some outstanding things that stood out this year at the health fair for me personally was I saw a lot of the vendors sharing of information back and forth to one another, which was good. Meeting each other. We had a few that had not been there before that were actually, I got several emails after the health fair that they were excited to be there. They thought it was a great event. So I had some very good positive feedback for those that attended. And we're already looking forward to next year. The backpack, as usual, goes well with the children, which melted right over into the snow cone giveaway at the other side. We only had one food critic during that time. He, on about his fourth snow cone, he said, I don't mean to be negative, but could you add more syrup and more ice to these things?
After four of them.
After four of them.
Yeah.
Then he ordered a grape one, so he was happy. No, I think, like I said, the one thing that really stood out for me was the Narcans that they normally give out. Last year, we probably gave out maybe 10. This year, we gave out 6 cases of those things.
Wow.
People asked for them. So that was an indicator of a group willing to come out and ask. And then we had, I think there was 6 or 8 people signed up for substance abuse help, which is a first, which is a good thing. And I think the Housing Authority group, I don't know, did you talk to them, Dick?
I did.
There was so many people had signed up for that service as well. I can't remember what that.
By 3/4 of this meeting, they had signed up 12 folks.
Wow.
Yeah. So
It's a waiting list. but
good
it's-
indicators that we've picked up, and getting the group that we need there. So, with that said, I guess, Dick and Kelsey was there, for a short time and Dick was there braving it out. We actually timed it just about right because when we started pulling the thing down, that's when the raindrops started to show. So, and the thunder started, so timing couldn't have been better.
Could have waited about 30 minutes more.
Well,
I got soaked.
Well, Love Inc., which was the clothing group, had came back this year, and she had all those racks of clothes out there, and I believe it was you, Larry and myself helped start shoving stuff in their van for them, but it was good to see them back as well. So,
Yeah.
but and people saw a lot of the vendors this year more engaged with the people that were visiting the health fair, interacting, which that's something I've always encouraged with the group is don't sit there and just wait for them to pick up a pamphlet, talk to them. And me being who I am, I work the crowd anyway. So it was fun to talk to people and meet them on a personal basis. And I think that helped them kind of open up a little bit more that it's okay, so. Other than that, number 8 come up next year. So
I heard there were over 800 snow cones served.
I'm sure you probably did. And I can
That was-
imagine who you heard that from.
That was the figure I heard.
Well, if you got everybody eating 4 at a time, I mean,
Well.
that's possible, I suppose.
I thought 800 sounded a little on the high side, but. you
Well, I know we went
Some
through
pits go 2 or 3, one give.
more snow cones than we did in the past, just for the simple reason I went to get the ice, and I know I went and got more ice this year than I did the previous year.
ever,
So if
yeah.
you measure that way, we probably did a couple more big coolers of ice than we did last year. So
Excellent.
maybe a little more. So anyway, it was
Good.
good.
Great, thank you. If there's nothing else about the health fair, we can move on to the new business.
I just want to add, because I do a lot of like health fairs and community outreach, and I have to agree, like even though our numbers weren't as high as they've been, I think it was the most engaged a lot of our vendors and resources have been. And even just the community, like walking up and saying, hey, I really need this resource and finding it. You don't really see that. And there's a lot of health fairs that we go to where they like have a passport and you just go get your passport stamped and you don't talk to them or access what they're offering. And definitely this year, even seeing people that had like several people sitting at their table that were from the same organization that were like, oh, hey, you're here for this service. And then walking people to another service and saying, hey, they can help support you in this area. So I thought that was really cool, like seeing the different resources engage with each other, but also helping the community find exactly what they were needing. And that was something that I think we've missed from past health fairs, but it was really great to get to see that. And then, yeah, I think there was a lot more people that were actively enrolling in services and getting the services that they need that aren't necessarily promoted full-time out here in Sweet Home. So, yeah.
Good.
Yep. Okay. If we want to move on to committee vacancies, Chair Ray, I know you had brought up this item for the agenda.
Well, the question on that, we do have a vacancy,
You
correct?
do, and I will take some responsibility. I need to get a meeting scheduled with some of the council members to do application review. Obviously, with my change in role, I've had a lot more going on, but we were able to hire some help for me. So I will be passing that on to get that scheduled as soon as possible.
So do we have applicants?
We do, yes.
And it's currently just one vacancy.
It is, yes.
Do you know how many applicants we have?
I think just the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one's good because
One
we
is
need
good.
one.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know when that might happen?
I'm hoping for next week.
Okay.
And then I'll have to take it to council so the following week.
And then, it kind of along those same lines, like, I know we only have one vacancy, but we
Mhm.
also have several seats that aren't often filled when
Mhm.
we're sitting here.
Mhm.
So how does that work?
So it's at your discretion if there is a noted attendance issue without excused absences, we can choose to remove folks. And then obviously we can solicit to fill that. I will say too, the Public and Traffic Safety Committee opted to select an alternate. So we could basically pick an 8th member and they can attend every meeting, but it just means if there's a vacancy on the dais, they can sit and vote. So you may want to consider that as well. But then, and we can do more solicitation for additional applicants if that's the direction you want to go.
So Norma, I mean, which I think is a good idea. Would a committee normally just be this number, a set number versus 10 or,
So
I don't know.
for whatever reason, historically, Sweet Home has favored 7 members to sit on their bodies. That could certainly be changed. Now it's codified as 7. If you wanted to change that number to reduce it or expand it, we could certainly do a code change. It's not difficult. That has pros and cons just when it comes to getting to quorum. So it would be at your discretion if you wanted to pursue that code change.
We consistently had 7, that'd be great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm one that hasn't been here for
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
several meetings, so
So for example,
you can have my blood if you want it.
See, our alternate's already.
there you go.
Well,
So for
that-
example,
All
you
in favor?
you consistently have 3. So for example, if you wanted to modify the code to make it a 5-member committee, then the 3 would be sufficient to have a quorum and take action. So that's just something to consider, since 3 to 4 seems to be your sweet spot since the inception of the committee. So just something to consider. And if you do want to pursue that, let me know, because that does take a few council meetings to enact.
What is the process to reach out to like the current members to see, like gauge their interest?
Yeah.
I mean, life happens, like maybe we
Absolutely.
just forgot, or so I would hate to like make
Just kick 'em.
decisions and be like, you're done.
Yeah.
And then maybe something.
Yeah. So like, for example, with Chief Tyler, I reached out to him and just gauged his interest, and he said, you know what, I can't make this commitment at this time. So if you'd like me to reach out, I'm happy to do that, or you're free to reach out and I can give you their contact info, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. I will add it
So
to
the-
my list.
So the ones that don't show up, are they all excused absences necessarily?
So at the city council level, we typically have a formal process to vote on whether they're excused or not. At the committee level, I haven't seen that done here. Now, sometimes folks reach out in advance and let me know they're going to be absent. So typically we would consider that an
I feel like
excuse.
it's, yeah, as
Yeah.
long as there's like I mean,
A
we do the
reason.
same thing at the health center, no call, no show, like you didn't show up at all.
Yeah.
If you called, even if it's 5 minutes
Right.
before and
Yeah.
let us know, hey, something came up,
Yeah.
then it's excused.
Yeah.
So,
And that's typically how it's been handled at this level.
And
Yeah.
if I might, for me, the issue is who you call and who you have to contact to let know. If you call Bob, it's one thing. If you call you, it's quite another thing. So it'd be nice to have that a little more formalized.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
at least Kelsey knows, at least Cecily knows.
yeah.
Try to keep
Yeah.
it to one or two.
I think
Otherwise,
typically it's either one of
I
them.
think it's usually
Yeah.
out to both of us.
Yes. And Bob,
yeah,
you always reach out to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know. So,
I'm fine with it. It just
Yeah.
ought to be,
yeah.
as you
Sure.
say, the codified.
Yeah. And I'll
It's
let
never
you
clear.
know.
It's never clear with the city council. People just say it's
Right.
excused. Well,
Yeah.
who decided that? So it,
Yeah.
you know,
And I'll say too, we've gotten some feedback because we did codify 2 committees in the past year and a half. Once we have turnover in council, sometime in January or February, I'm planning to convene a work session, and all the committee members are going to be invited just to kind of talk through
Yeah.
the committee structure, maybe standardize some things, see what's working, see what's not, just when we have that fresh council seated. Just to kind of do a reset, because I know there are some inconsistencies, or maybe there are some resources that committee members feel like they've been lacking. So if we can get everybody in the same room, I think that
Good
will be
idea.
helpful. Okay. Anything else on the vacancies?
I don't think I have.
I'm all right.
Are there any specific questions you'd like me to include when the interviews happen with that small council committee?
One of the things when it comes to interviews, in fact, I met with Susan Coleman this week, and I said one thing that as a committees we miss out on is the opportunity to sit in on an interview. And I said, we come in and all of a sudden we have a person show up that we have no clue who they are or anything about them. I said it would be nice to have an opportunity for chair, vice chair, or an alternate to be able to sit in on interviews when someone's being interviewed or selected.
In terms of actually participating in the selection? Okay.
Actually participating.
So just procedurally, technically the mayor has full appointment authority. We have the Administration, Finance, and Property Committee, which is really a formality
Mhm.
that has added another, in my opinion, layer of bureaucracy. From staff perspective, I would not recommend adding another layer to that. And that committee also carries some weight with it. So it's kind of an honor to be appointed to that committee as a council member. So I don't know what the feeling would be about commingling that with committee members. Not that you're not worthy to sit on it, but just you're the first committee that's expressed an interest, and we try to keep it consistent with that appointment process. So
And the same thing, I sit on the Parks Board, same thing there.
Yeah.
You sit there and all of a sudden 2 people and
new folks.
Who is this person, where they come from? And it's like, you'd like to have some input
Sure.
because as community members, we
Yeah,
probably know a lot of these candidates sometimes.
of
And
course.
we have a thought of,
Yeah,
are they a
you're
good
not
fit?
Voting on the person.
You're
that
not
leads.
voting on a
Just to
person. And it may
hear-
be,
Yeah.
and it might be the process that the apps come across our desk, so we at least see who the candidates are and say, here's our
You
check
have
mark
your
on-
recommendation.
Here's our recommendation,
Sure.
and then it's up to the group to
That
go
would
ahead
be-
and choose it.
That would certainly be much easier to
And-
do than
and-
integrating
And
those.
Bob, I was gonna recommend that that's the kind of thing that you should bring to the meeting when they sit
Yeah.
down with the new the meeting of the new counselors.
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
bring this up,
absolutely.
Because I think it should be true for all of the groups. I agree.
Yeah.
This is kind of a weak spot,
Yeah. Okay.
but it's probably more appropriate when we're talking to the counselors and not you just.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. So, okay. Well, then I can, so since we only have the one applicant, do you want me to do that or just go ahead and move forward with that one? And then in the future, we can integrate
Probably
that.
move forward with
Yeah,
that one.
okay.
Like 'em.
I think I might know who this person
Yeah,
is.
I'm sure you do. So, okay, but that's a really good suggestion. So we can go ahead and do that. And then, yeah, whenever we do have that work session next year, please make sure to bring that up because I imagine some other committees would also maybe have an
Yeah.
interest in doing that. And does that kind of piggyback with attendance procedures or did you have other questions about that?
I mean, I think we kind of addressed it already, but is there anything anyone else wants to add about attendance? My main concern is just not like having people that are on the committee, but they're not showing up and they're not saying anything. If someone reaches out, then I'm fine with, okay, life happens. I have 2 kids, so
Yeah.
there's times I'm not going to be able to make it. So I would hope that we wouldn't be like, oh, you missed 2 in a year.
Mhm.
You can't come back if they were excused. But the not knowing and the not hearing from anyone, and then they're just continuing to not show up.
Yeah.
Even if it's an excused absence,
If it's
for us sitting up
consistent,
here,
yeah,
we're like,
yeah,
yeah. And I don't know where you draw that line or how you approach that.
I
think-
was going to say, I've had this discussion way too many times in too many groups. And one of the issues is, so what's excused and what
Mhm.
isn't? And I had a person way smarter than me decide that it's not the fact that it's what's causing you to miss the meeting. It's that you let someone know beforehand.
Yeah.
And then it's
The
you
intentionality
can
of
go
it.
ahead and use whatever the
Yeah.
reason is to Cecily or Kelsey or whoever we decide. And you can go on forever about, I just hate sitting next to Bob, but by the time it comes back,
There's
by the time it comes back-
Two of you, obviously.
by the
right?
time it comes back to the group, it's an excused absence because they told me first.
Sure.
and it will hold the place.
Well,
So-
yeah, I don't want to get down into the
Exactly. You
nitty gritty
just-
of why someone needs.
It's not a non-excused or excused.
They knew they had a meeting.
And it takes it off the 2 of you, well, whoever decide to say, well, that's not excused. Well, that's not fair either to either of us.
Yeah, I think the unexcused and excused should
Yeah,
just come down to they notified someone
That's
before the
right.
meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah, we
That-
don't need to know everything.
That's the problem.
I agree.
That's what I was
Yeah.
speaking to before,
Yeah.
the city council does that, and it's like,
It gets,
My
it can get
foot hurt.
messy. Yeah.
yeah. it's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well,
being
I
so,
just want to know the details.
Exactly.
And people don't want to know my health details.
Exactly,
But I'll
exactly.
give them
Yeah.
if they need it, but
Yeah.
they don't want it.
Yeah.
Trust me.
No.
So I
It's
agree. As long
unimportant.
as they're notifying someone, and that's all I've asked is,
Yeah.
I mean, it is disheartening showing up every month and then it's like, oh, is
Where are
anyone
they?
else coming?
Right.
Or
Do they
we just gonna
care?
sit here? When
Right.
do we start? Can we even talk about something at this point? And so like feeling like, are we just gonna be spinning our wheels? If we do have committee members who have excused absences and then we're just sitting here waiting and we can't do anything because we have so many with unexcused that we weren't aware that they weren't gonna show up at all. And so then it just feels like we can't do anything.
Well, the tough part of that, I mean, is I agree with everything that you and Dick have said. It's like people could have good intentions and be good people, but like you said, you want a person sitting there,
Right.
providing some input. I mean, or else even encouraged to take a look at this because you send it out ahead and say, by the way, could you guys mention this and this? Someone that has that ambition to contribute, not just a name.
Okay. Well, I will reach out to the folks who have missed consistently this year.
well, and now that we have the official meeting, I do appreciate the early agendas, at least by Monday,
Yes.
Yeah,
that
I am
helps.
trying.
because I don't remember all the time and I got meetings after meetings after meetings, as I know a lot of you do.
Maybe you got too many.
Well, and
I know I do.
I was saying before the meeting, the system that it goes through can be a little funky. So if it's better for the committee for me to send out a personal invitation from my calendar to your email, I'm happy to do that.
Whatever's easiest.
Okay. Just so it's, if you keep a
Something that's not
calendar,
extra work for you.
it's really not. I'll just set up the recurrence and call it a day.
Yeah.
So, okay,
We
well,
can do
I'll
that
do
too.
that. That will be easy enough.
I had a rough summer. I'll just be nice with
You haven't talked to me lately then.
No,
I'll tell you about rough.
I know you've had rough too.
Okay. So if there's nothing else on that, then we can move on to committee business for the good of the order.
Yes, project and partner roundtable. Do I know if Lynn County is gonna be able to present, wants to present, or any of the above?
Hope so.
Okay.
Somebody want to explain to me what the project and partner roundup is?
That's where you come and present every quarter a project to the group and bring your associate with you. No. Now, the projects, and it's looking at down the road, can we invite other resources to one, give presentations here? Or is there something that goes beyond just a health fair once a year? Maybe once a quarter you have a town hall meeting or something on a subject where you get open up to the community, something to that effect. It's a thinking cap. I'll just give you an example. One I'm working on right now that came out of the health fair is the Western University students. As I was talking to that group in Jeannie West, I mentioned, my daughter's need for therapy on an ongoing basis. And she said, that's a good thought, because I was talking about it's hard for us to get a disabled daughter to a clinic all the time. Can they reach out to where they live? And, through the conversation is the students have to give so many hours of community service each year. So her thought was, well, I'll reach out to the other department in physical therapy because that may be a good pilot project to start here in Sweet Home with where our daughter is to do physical therapy and let these students get their time towards their graduation.
Yeah.
So we're having that conversation. I hope it occurs, but it's something like that. That's what I think about projects. And
And what Kelsey was nodding at me about was inviting the Lynn County folks to explain what's going on at the clinic. We had already approached, forgot her name, 201, to come and present. And that's still up there. They were going to show up tonight, but didn't because it wasn't clear what was going on tonight. So it's stuff like that. And I'll try to get that. Well, we should probably talk about a schedule for the holiday, by the way. I was going to bring that up. But I'll invite one or the other of them sometime in the next meeting or two.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Schedule for the holiday. What do committees normally do around the holidays?
So unfortunately with your rotation,
Right at
Christmas.
yeah, and also Thanksgiving. So,
we have a
They-
Christmas party.
they do typically cancel. Or I can look at my schedule and we could propose a different day, at least one to be able to meet.
Showing it, yeah.
So we're not skipping a whole
Yeah.
quarter.
I
1st of
know
December.
we do, I'm a part of community court and we meet usually the same day as these meetings, but then around August we switch and we do it the week prior that we've done it all year just to accommodate for later on in the schedule when there is the holidays.
Okay.
So instead of like the 4th Wednesday we meet, I think community court does like the 3rd Wednesday. Or something like that.
You weren't listening.
That should work.
It's in my
I'm not seeing any conflicts for November and December, so we could do both months if that's the preference, or we could just do one or
Do
something.
one in
middle.
between them.
Why don't I send out some dates and we can kind of come to a consensus?
That would be good.
Okay.
And along guest speakers, that's one thing. During the health fair, I went around and talked to every service provider there and mentioned the idea of would they be interested in coming to this group and giving presentations? And every one of them said they would. So it'd be like this group, who out of that group do you want to?
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to that. They're willing.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing I did see, I was right across from Jackson Street Youth Ministries at the health fair, and they had a lot of engagement at their table, and that just kind of brings me back to the teen mental health, is there's obviously a need there. So I think getting them to come just present the different services and things that they could offer to some of our youth.
I just saw them
Be
this
really good.
afternoon. They're at the skate park.
Yeah.
Park with tent and probably some food and drinks.
Like once a
and
month, I think they come
That
to
was
the
pretty
skate
cool.
park to engage
That's
the
the
youth.
first
So I
time I've
think it would
seen.
be cool to have them here. I live very close to there, so I see them set up their tent, and I'm always wondering what they're doing.
Is it once a month, once a week?
I think
you
it's
know?
at least once a month. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Good.
So they might be a good one to get down here.
So my question is, who's reaching out to these individuals?
I would say somewhere along the line, FAC will be ready to do a presentation in the very near future.
Good.
I'll reach out to Jackson Street and see if they'd be willing to come.
Yeah, I think that's for the committee to
Yeah.
invite the partners you want and then just communicate with Chair Ray, and then she and I put the agenda together. So
I think it worked out really well. Like the first few presentations we had, having the people on the committee who already had contacts established,
Right.
reaching out to them. But if there's a place like Jackson Street where we don't necessarily have someone, I'm happy to do that outreach and just say, hey, this is what we're doing here. Can you come present to me?
Yeah.
So that works
So,
for me.
so I guess my suggestion would be to this group is all of us to go away from here thinking about who we would want to. I mean, there's some names already thrown out, but I think give those to Kelsey
Mhm.
would be my suggestion, is here's who we think. And they could even probably talk to the person, let Kelsey know that these individuals are willing to do it too.
Mhm.
So each of us take our own initiative to reach out to some of these entities.
Well, FAC has a new executive director coming on board October 1st. So anytime after that, I'm sure they would be more than happy to come and speak with, since we are the ones that basically helped get it all started
Mhm.
3 years ago or 4 years ago.
And then I think also with the transition within the leadership in this community with council members looking for a new city manager, those are all going to come into play at some point, I think,
Yeah.
for this committee and all the rest of them as
Yeah.
to what's their vision and direction. So I expect we'll probably hear from some of that as
Mhm.
well.
And keep in mind too, as part of the committee's charge, before April 1st, you need to produce an annual report that will be presented to council. So you'll want to focus on that in the first quarter of 2025. So
Okay. You already got that all done, don't you?
Mhm.
Well, yeah. Does that work for our first report? Like showing the work we did on the,
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know like what all that entails that we would have to
I
present.
think I would just summarize, for example, your partner presentations, obviously the work you've done, compiling the resources. You can summarize the health fair, and then any kind of vision or goals for the next
What we're
year.
looking at for next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be super formal. It's not a thesis or anything.
I didn't know if I had to give like a 25 slide PowerPoint.
No, I'm sure
Just
they
to last an hour.
I'm sure they'd be thrilled if you spoke
That's
for 5
exactly
minutes.
what you have to
Yeah.
give.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And you'll probably call and say, I won't be there that week.
Yeah.
Someone else do that.
Excuse absent.
Oh, I suddenly had to leave the country, but you're up. Here's your
I already
slides.
got the slides ready for you. Just fill in the blanks.
All right.
Okay. Anything else?
For me personally, I'd just like to thank this group, considering what's been going on in our media. I'd just like to say this group and the other groups I've sat on have really shown a degree of professionalism and courtesy to one another. And it really, to me, says a lot about the integrity of each of us up here. So thank you all for that. You too.
It's nice to have some integrity.
Staff also thanks you for that.
One other thing, because Dick knows me, I do. One of the things I brought up with Susan Coleman that from the health fair concern was these events that we pour ourselves into, it would be nice to see city leadership show up at these events. There was absolutely no one from the city leadership came to this event. And it's kind of disappointing when we put the time and effort we do for the city, represent the city. And I'm sure I'll bring this up more because I already have met with Susan. I said it supports us, but it also, to me, your leadership, it helps develop them as to what we're doing, but it also shows the community members that you really care about them.
Yeah.
Send the
And-
message to the
And it
community.
sends a strong message, and they just need to do a better job at that. So, and she's aware of that. I've seen her writing everything down. I was telling her, but we need that.
Yeah.
We need that support.
I agree, definitely from the community standpoint, just them seeing that like the city supports this and that they're engaged too, and it's okay to be out here accessing these services, even if it's just someone standing there eating a snow cone. I think it would be good to have some part of leadership there, just walking around, even just engaging with the folks in the community, because a lot of our folks that come out to these events are part of our underserved population that kind of gets under the radar and missed and forgotten a lot. So I think it would be good.
It's a good way to build that trust,
Yeah.
that our leadership does care about us.
Well, and I have never met an agency who's attended these kinds of things, not just the health, that doesn't walk away feeling extra good about themselves for having just met a city councilor.
Yep.
Chief of police, mayor, whatever. I mean, it just, you can have the smallest town in the world and it's kind of cool. So, here.
You're not threatening her, are you?
Absolutely not. She's waiting to see my hand raise and not again.
Put that thing down, would you?
Anything else?
No, thank you.
What about you, Larry? Anything
I
else?
just apologize for missing so many meetings this past summer. I
You were
need to
missed.
say it. Yeah, I know. I was on the brink of being kicked off.
No, you were missed. But I genuinely appreciate you did. There was times you reached out to me. You also
Mhm.
reached out to Cecily. So it's just nice having
Excuse.
the heads up that someone's not going to be here instead of getting here
And wondering.
yeah,
Yeah.
and sitting here
Are
like
we gonna
should
have
we
a
start?
quorum or not?
Yes. So I do appreciate and again, I understand that life gets busy and I appreciate that you had the ability to reach out.
I mean, we had a cardboard cutout of you sitting in that chair.
Oh,
Yeah.
did it have darts in it?
No.
It does now.
It does now.
Every once in a while, I'd pull the string on the
I
lips.
thought maybe
move
the
up and down.
rats were eating it or something. Aye.
Don't need a motion. You can just adjourn.
Meeting's adjourned.
All right.
Good job, Kelsey.
Thanks.
Boy, if they were that quick, I wouldn't have missed